RiverBender.com.
Baby, put your arms around me, baby. I just want to fly.
1023, welcome back. Daily show smacking you in the nose on a Friday, 7th day of February. And I just want to point out, I had a major personal victory today, Danny, before we get into our segment here. For the audience, I needed to renew my driver's license. My dog got this one. I don't know if you can tell. The guy at the boat, when I went the other day, got it stuck in the machine. I told him not to put it. I said, that's not going to work. Just scan it with the handheld. And he put it right in like this, and he couldn't get it out. I almost had to take the machine apart. So I'm helping all of us. I am officially eligible online for my renewal. Yeah! No online, no testing needed. They said, CJ, you're too good of a driver. Just take it, you know?
Yep. That's great. That's great.
Oh, goodness. Danny Robinette?
Yes.
Did I do it right?
Yeah, you did great. Good job.
I botched something
You're on
in
fire
interview. I am on a roll. Here we go. Where you been? All right. Hand Up Housing is a nonprofit right here in the heart of the 618. And really just excited to have you on the show and learn more about your mission. And with that being said, take me through an overview, if you will, of the organization.
Yeah, so it is Hand Up Housing, working mainly out of Alton, but for Madison County. The founder, Jason Bruno, had kind of a vision to expand his services in nonprofit world and wants to eventually build tiny homes to help people who are living on the street in our county. And then once we got together and talked, it was more of learning, well, there's a lot of groundwork to do to get to that point. I think some people are familiar with the struggle and the fight that's been Salvation Army and that kind of thing. So we were trying to take all of that and learn from it and see what are our solutions, what are our options, what can we do to not just help people on the street get into housing, safe and affordable housing, but also what can we do for our community? Because NIMBY is such a thing, and it's which is not in my backyard. And then to find out, our community deserves to be safe as much as our homeless or people who are experiencing that deserve to be safe as well. So we think that there's solutions that can serve everyone, not just one group of people.
Well, and I think you're right. I think it might take extended conversations or maybe a little bit of time, but I like the fact that you all have, ideas to bring to the table and say, because you're right. I mean, anyone that says you don't want to help somebody in need, I just can't buy that, for a second, because we all know somebody in our life that no matter what happens, when they call us, we pick up the phone and we make sure that we at least have a conversation. So, and it's good though that you're saying, we're going to weigh out both sides of that issue because it is an issue. And I think it's very important for the public to know that too, that hey, there's a balance here. It's just finding that right balance.
Yeah, and I've heard that. Like, we listened to the city council meetings and the various different meetings they had when people spoke up, and we heard a lot of the same comment of, I want to help, but. Right. I really want to help, but. Right. And so I think that is a valid concern, and I think that we can keep talking together about it because the problem's not going away.
No, and you're right. So it's instead of avoiding it, you have to have dialogue, I think. And there's no doubt about that. So to have a dialogue. And when did Hand Up Housing start to take shape?
We've been working, it'll be a year next month that
really?
I've worked.
Okay.
And I know Jason and Maddie were on that a little bit before I was, I think back in November of 23. So yeah, a few months past that. So it's fairly new, but we teamed up with Inner City Mission in Springfield, Illinois, that they've had a lot of success with not just getting people housed and helping get people off the street, but also outcomes that we want to see with people going back to living, just thriving in life, not just surviving and barely paying bills and not having a support system. There has been a lot of growth around people continuing to live thriving, healthy, good lives, giving back, that kind of thing. So,
well, and honestly, it's one of those, it's good to know just some of the back end work of what you guys have done and just kind of follow too. Because it helps the public gain a broader understanding, I think, of what your mission is and just a little bit more of your guys' identity, as a whole, too. And I think that's so important because you are actively researching and looking into this and also seeing these studies. I think it is fascinating, very fascinating.
Yeah, we've done a lot of local work with our own local data. With what are our statistics? What do the people who are working in the issue have to say? We've sent out some surveys trying to get information back from people on what their thoughts are. What kind of interactions are they having with people experiencing homelessness? So we've done a couple things that has kind of helped, paint the picture for different definitions of homelessness. We break that down, and we're going to talk about that on Tuesday at our event.
Okay.
We have just such a broad understanding of if you don't have a house, that doesn't mean you have a home, or if you don't have a home, that means you don't have A, B, and C. And that's usually different for everyone. And so we've really looked at, okay, let's take the elephant and try to eat a bite at a time and divide it out into a little easier understanding definitions. And so I know for me, I started working on this issue back in 2010. Inner city mission's been around 40 years. Donna, my coworker, has been working on it for 15, 16 years as well.
Wow.
And I think the combined experience at the mission up there is over 100 years of just people really studying this issue and kind of turning the shelter into a classroom to see how can we learn from people who come in, and how can we then take that to educate our community? Well,
and on top of that too, and really good just to know a little bit more of that experience level there and gaining that. But take me through these local studies that you've, because I'm very fascinated by it. If it's okay to ask you a little bit on these, what have you been able to find with your data, and how have you approached data collection?
Yeah, so good question, because I think one thing I want to make sure is totally clear is that it's not that the current effort isn't doing anything. Right. It is. There's so many there. So when I started back in 2010, we were talking more about hidden homelessness. I was convincing people and talking to people about there are people couch surfing. There are people who we don't see. They're invisible, but they're there. True. I don't have to talk about that anymore.
Right.
Because we have people on our street who are now visible that we now see. And
well, and that's what I want to make sure when I ask, because it's not a pointed question. I find this so fascinating because there's been a big conversation about, homelessness, here in this area big time. And so to hear a little bit more of some of what you've been able to kind of collect with these stuff, that's why I mean that in all sincerity. I'm quite fascinated by this. Yeah,
it has been wonderful to work on. Yeah. It has been rough. It has been exciting. It has been rewarding. It has been there's just a multitude of things and I think that's why I'm drawn to this. I have my own live life experience as a kid with homelessness. Really? That I was totally disconnected from. I didn't understand. I just thought I wanted to do good things and help people. And then Scott, my mentor, said, Dani, there's a reason people get into this work. What is it? What is it for you? And he really kind of forced me to be oh, well, I guess I did go through this thing when I was a child that I just didn't understand would shape and drive my connection to it. So our data, and that has been the kind of the root of the people we're working with. I'm sure. If they don't have their own live life experience, then they know someone who does. And I got my start back in 2010, I think 2008, I was going out and doing street ministry on the riverfront in St. Louis. And there are two kinds of people I realized. We would go out and people would be oh my gosh, this is amazing. We're handing things out. I feel so good. This is wonderful. And then there were a handful of us that I was in that group of there's something wrong. Why do I get to go home and shower and live this life and they don't? That doesn't make any sense to me. And so I just kind of got fueled by what was happening and found some other people who were too. And so the back to the data collection question, we thought it was very important to look at what's already being done, give credit to those things, because we definitely don't want to say you're doing it wrong or what you're doing isn't enough or any of that.
Because there is effort.
There's so much more effort. And that's what I started to say. Like back in the day, like I was trying to convince everyone. And now we have, Riverbend Family Ministries. We have, Sacred Spaces of Care. We have
overnight warming location.
AL. We have all these different places that are really trying to work on the issue, and not just work on the issue, but with the people. Yeah. And building relationships with them.
How important is that, relationship, comparatively speaking, to maybe just what some perceive the former process of being when it came to a lot of these groups, and not saying anything locally, but just from a national perspective and just ways we viewed maybe pantries, and it was kind of a numbers mentality where it was like, take a number and we'll see you next week. Yeah. What is having a conversation and having that relationship doing just in terms of what you're seeing? Does it go further than that? And in terms of hand-up housing, is that relationship what's going to fuel the kind of what would lead to, that home being utilized and that life being able to flourish? Oh,
such a good question. Because I think my answer is that it's pivotal. Okay. It is the missing piece. Way back in the 80s when housing first began, which is the government's solution to homelessness, we put them in a house and that gets it to where we solve it with a house or a home or an apartment or whatever. And I want to give credit where credit's due. They've learned that that's not really the approach. More was needed.
I get you there. Okay.
Yeah. So like in New York, they actually ended up doubling the amount of people experiencing homelessness because they took them off the street, popped them into a small home, and then they couldn't live. They had no support system. They had no friends. They would just go back out. And kind of abandon the houses they had been gifted. And so they learned, okay, we've got to get people wraparound services. We've got to get them support. We've got to help. There's why isn't this sticking? Because they would give somebody a home with a bed and a couch and they would sleep on the floor because they just couldn't handle that.
Yeah, well, and see, that's another fascinating point because just like we started this conversation with hearing the community's kind of two-sided argument on this and this multiple points of view, there's more than just that property or more than just that I don't want to say, but we all see the social media influencer that hands out the gift. There's more to that than just handing out something to feel good. There's so much more than that goes into the mental health services that we talk about with Centerstone and some of these things that without it, I mean, it's just a Band-Aid.
Well, and spending on homelessness in our country is unprecedented.
Really?
We are spending more than we ever have. And so that was part of our question. Why isn't money solving this issue? Why aren't houses that are being built solving the issue? Why aren't our, giveaway programs solving this issue? And we actually are going to talk about that on Tuesday with there's a little bit of history of how we arrived here with our modern solution to homelessness is outdated. It's the homelessness of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and we're still using that. With we think if we just give people a job and a house, we're going to solve their issue. Yeah. And we're actually dealing with trauma now. So when you asked about the relationship, it's pivotal. It's everything.
This is so fascinating. I mean, really is. And I know we're going to talk about the event here soon, which is coming down the pipeline. As you can see, homelessness re-examined on February the 11th. But I think it's so productive to have these conversations beforehand, though, just for folks to gain a little bit more insight, because it is such an important conversation that's happening around the region right now.
It is.
And, with that being said, did you have a moment to take a quick break? We'll come back, we'll chat a little bit more, and then we'll talk about the event.
Yes.
You stay there. We'll stay here on RiverBender.com. It's just above freezing, 32 degrees in downtown Alton. The temperature keeps dropping, but, who's looking at that? 10:36, more Daily Show next.
Have a rash, pink eye, or urinary tract infection and need care now? OSF On-Call Urgent Care is here to treat you. Start a virtual visit 24/7, whenever and wherever you need it. It's just that easy. osfoncall.org/virtual visit.
Has free checking become a thing of the past? Not if Liberty has anything to say about it. With 3 free personal checking options and even a free business checking account, free is alive and well at Liberty Bank, the local bank that gives you free checking choices and more cashing in your pocket. Bank locally, bank Liberty. For more information, visit www.bankliberty.com.
I set the thermostat so my house would be warm when I got home from work, but the kitchen is still cool.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we stand behind every Linux system we sell.
My dealer said he'd take care of everything.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we understand everyone wants prompt, professional service.
Turns out it wasn't my furnace after all, just a little something blocking the vent.
Pretty smart dog if you ask me. For service you can count on, call Barrett Heating and Cooling.
Lennox. Innovation never felt so good.
Brant Walker knows how to get results for Alton because he's done it. As Mayor, Brant froze the property tax levy and balanced the budget. His economic development policy stimulated $116 million in private capital investment. Community policing and increased resources for public safety led to a decrease in crime. And under Brant Walker's leadership, Alton secured more than $10 million in extra grant funds for infrastructure and park improvements. Move Alton forward with Brant Walker.
Macias Insurance Agency, providing quality products with extremely competitive prices. As an independent provider, we source multiple companies to offer the best rates possible, covering auto, home, business, and life insurance. Our goal is to provide quality service that meets and exceeds customer expectations. You can rest easy knowing the Macias team is working round the clock to ensure that both you and the most important parts of your life are covered. Our qualified professionals make the insurance process easy so you can live carefree and focus on what matters most. Visit MaciasInsuranceAgency.com today to find out what our team can do for you.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on RiverBender.com.
I always have a pet peeve with this song because you listen to the chorus, you're like, oh God, this is a great song. And then you turn it on, you pull it up on YouTube, just a loop of My Sweet Lord for 4 minutes, you know? Welcome back. Daily Show at 10:40 on this very lucky 7th day of February.
Oh, yeah.
I lost gambling this morning. We're back with Hand Up Housing. Coming up on Tuesday, the 11th of February, Homelessness Reexamined. Now, this is going to be where?
It's going to be at, everybody wants to call it the old Holiday Inn. The former Holiday Inn. I think it's Great Rivers Ascend Hotel now.
We had a conversation about this on the show because that's where the forum was for East End, and I said, where is the Great Rivers Hotel? Right. So it's a former Holiday Inn, Best Western Premier, yes, but now the Great Rivers. Great Rivers Ascend Hotel, I think is what it's called. So I'm one of those people that will forever call it Riverport. Yeah. So I'm going to forever call this place Holiday Inn. I think I'm trying. Yeah. No, I totally appreciate that too. Yeah. But it's going to be there on Tuesday. So we have 2 sessions to choose from. We're doing the presentation twice that day. And so there's a morning session, which is 9 to noon, which is almost at capacity. Wow, good for you. I'm super stoked about that. What's capacity? Just 150. Whoa. I know. Like, people want to talk about this. I'm not even people want to hear funny. About this. I thought you were going to tell me like 50, 55. Yeah, that's kind of what we were hoping for, and we're probably, I think last we checked, we're at 130. Wow. And then in the evening session, we have much more space, so it's probably around 50 for the evening session. Well, that's still, though, to have 2 sessions because of it's pretty darn impressive. Yeah, that's what I was super excited. I think people want to talk about this, so we've been trying to kind of, build bridges and talk with police departments and municipalities and different groups to see, because it's going to require everyone. It's going to there isn't a one size fits all solution. And I think that everybody has their part that they can do. And it's just going to be a big undertaking, a community undertaking. And I think it can happen. So we want everybody and anyone to come who, churches, organizations, people who just have an interest and want to know more. And they're, people who work in it. So, well, and this is where it takes me to my next point, because we have a couple of minutes left and would love to have you back on after for a follow-up just to see what the engagement was there and what some of the thoughts were, because we're following this issue pretty closely, and to have your insights would be really important on this. Yeah, for sure. I want to take you to handuphousing.org. This is the website. So projects that you guys need to move forward. I wanted to ask you about some of these. This is Hand Up Housing Pathway to Affordable Housing. Acquire building lots in the Riverbend area. Funding for construction budget for each home. Total funding about 1.5. Can we volunteer and donate to that today? What does that entail?
That is, so we've kind of discussed this. These were the original projects that Jason came up with, and what we definitely still want to do.
Oh, that's what I was asking.
Definitely
I didn't want to throw something out at that list.
Definitely want to do that, but there was also like this point of like, wait a minute, we've got to kind of get on the same page about where we're going.
Okay.
Before we start, because one of the things I've learned, and I think a lot of folks have learned along the way who were interested in it, is that the buildings don't solve the problem.
Very true. That's interesting, though.
Yeah.
So can we still donate, though, to the cause?
For sure,
because I think if people are interested, and that's very fascinating to hear you go, hey, no, it's still an idea, and that's still a project. It's just we have to take an additional step maybe to get to that.
Right.
That's very fascinating. I love this.
Yeah.
Well, and see, it's good for the public to know that, too, because so many times you hear the public, just from where I'm sitting, just in, my chair of media, just observing is, organizations they hear, but they don't listen. Or maybe they hear and they just keep moving forward. But I love that. It's not, this is a bad idea. It's what we want to do. It's just, we're going to listen a little bit longer and see what that conversation entails.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yes. It's super exciting. So definitely can keep giving to that online. Those projects are in the, I guess, on the pipipeline.
Yeah, coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, we wanted to get through this and find out the temperature of the community. Like, can we get on the same page with this? Like, because I think like there's a lot of, like I said, not in my backyard.
Yeah.
I think getting property in Madison County is going to be tough for anybody anywhere.
True.
For this particular thing.
True.
And so putting the feelers out with where everybody is. And I know that we have our naysayers and the ones that just don't want it here. But I do think that there's a solution that they'll be happy with as well if we can keep talking. And I think that hopefully we come across some people who are like, hey, I have some property, I have a farmhouse, I have this, I have that. Maybe we can, donate, give money, give project materials. I know Jason did a great job working with some of the local high schools with having them build our first spec house, our tiny home.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, and with that being said, too, for more information, you can go to handuphousing.org. That's handuphousing.org, 501c3, so tax-deductible donations right around the time Uncle Sam's going to be knocking on your door. So might as well get those in. And Dani, before I let you go, anything else you can fill us in on ahead of the 11th?
On the website, there is the event page or the event tab, and that is where you go to RSVP for the event. We were trying to get everyone to RSVP, but we're not going to turn anyone around at the door. We would love to have it standing room only. Really? But if you want to guarantee your seat, you choose from the two pages right there, the morning session on the left and the evening session on the right.
There you go. Look at that. That's easy.
Yeah.
handuphousing.org/events.
Perfect.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Dani, it was great talking with you.
Yes,
would love to have you back on the show. And thank you again for having your time spent with us this Friday.
Yes, thank you.
We'll take a quick break. OSF Healthcare, they join us next right here in the heart of the 618.